Ah, well, hello. Hello and welcome. Hi, everybody. I am Sarah Green, and I want to welcome you to my live. It is my first scheduled live, but certainly not my last live. Now, I've got to tell you, I'm not as concerned with how many people are here right now as I am for those who will see this, because this is a very important topic. All right. Okay, it's all right. It's all right. I got it. I got it. Okay, it's a very important topic, people, because and especially, I mean, it was happening anyway, but especially after the very difficult time we've all gone through with this pandemic, it is difficult enough to go through life with your own aspirations and desires and having certain and anticipating certain things and wanting certain things that are from within, to also have on top of that the complications of trying to live your life according to what other people want. And in this case, I am going to get really specific about those other people, because other people in this case, uh, I'm talking about parents. So, is there enough blame to go around? Sure, there is. Is there enough difficulty um, in the parent child relationship? Sure, there is. But by the time your children are adults and your lives are complicated and you have a difficult time getting along, you know that did not just start. Even if you think there was something external that created a hardship, somebody was not living out loud, not living their truths, not um, you hadn't ruffled the feathers up until then. Okay, so here's my intention with this live. My intention right now is to stay top level, because nobody can really go specific about your life and your situations uh, except if they specifically know both people in it. And I don't just mean the behaviors of both people, because what happens is we only know to look at people's behaviors because psychology has done a beautiful job of making sure you never get to know your individual core, and certainly not those that you love. Okay? So, uh, here we go. The first thing I want to do is read the description of this live, and I need a little help, or of this video. So, no child ever wants to go no contact. Your relationships with your children begins with your attitude about and towards your children. I can say that because you were the adult when your children were born. You set the tone for the relationships that you now have with your children. Ooh, that's a hard pill to swallow. Let me finish this. The description is hard, all right? And if you've got some adult children, sure, there is some responsibility that's going to have to go around. But if your children have gone no contact with you, I can only imagine what that pain is like as a parent. Okay? It's not too late though. So I'm going to ask you, and as gently as I can as I move through this, because I've been doing this work, y'all, since the late 90s. I've got 3 publications on relationships and personal development and archetypes. That stuff that most people don't even know is the problem for their relationships. So hold on. Give me an opportunity to move through this and to help you with where you are. If after you listen to it, it's not something you're willing to do, listen, we all make choices. Okay? So here we go, mama or daddy, who is having a difficult relationship with your adult child. Let me finish this, okay? No child ever wants to go no contact with a parent. Your relationships with your children begins with your attitude about and toward your children. Everything is energy. And children are far more self aware and living according to their own design than your desires these days. If you want a good relationship with them, you're going to have to grow emotionally. I understand that that wasn't something your parents did. I understand that that wasn't something that your peers even knew anything about. I understand that your children are adults now and you're not interested in doing all that. I get all of that. But if you want to have a relationship with your adult children and it has been difficult and they have gone no contact or they do their best to spend as little time with you as possible, I'm telling you what it's going to take. And if you'll listen, it doesn't have to be that you make a huge leap from where you are to where you believe they need you to be. Because this whole journey is not as much about your children as it is you, and you'll find that in a moment. So if you'll give me an opportunity to move through this, and I see people are joining, if you'll give me an opportunity to start to move through this, then I'll also open it up for Q&A to be able to answer some questions. But I'm going to give you some top level stuff that you may not have even considered. I'm almost finished reading this. Parent-child relationships are difficult, but you can grow into better. So, all right, this is about the parents. Are there things that the adult children can do? Yes. And I believe before a child of any age goes no contact with a parent, then there needs to be some stages. There needs to be some things that you try. If you don't know what to try, then many of them just frustrated, just quit. So, mama, daddy, if you're listening, there are some things that can happen. But I'm a teacher at heart. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am and why you might want to listen. I said just a little bit ago. But my work has been about keeping families together. I've created products and audiobooks and programs to help people to understand, families to understand how they differ so that they can better connect. Because our differences are actually to distinguish us in our good, bad, and ugly so we know how to connect. Psychology hasn't taught you that. That's why you're all flailing and really having all this conflict around what you think the problems are, which are the issues. And I'm telling you, when we understand each other and learn to connect based on our differences, the issues dissolve on their own. Okay? So you've been focused on the issues when the issues are not the problem. The problem is you don't understand yourself and each other. All right, isn't that already something that feels good? Doesn't that feel good to know that you could have just been going about this thing all wrong all along? I'm telling you, that's exactly what's happened. Okay? So you see me looking over here because I've got this big wall of a board that I've written on. And so that's where all my notes are. So you're going to see me doing that. So this is about parents. You did your best. I know you did. All parents do. So let me start there too. I know you did everything you knew to do. And you did everything you could do. And I know you love those little people you spit out. I know it. There is no parent who spits out a child or helps to produce a child who does not have some kind of connection to that child, whether they are present and been there the whole time or not. I know you did your best. Okay? And all people are always only doing their best, which is why I'm asking you to do what we all came here for, and that is to learn more so you can do better. That's all. You learn more so that you can grow. We came here to learn and grow. The more you learn and grow, it increases your capacity to love those people in your space. When you're in conflict with people, then it becomes difficult to like them, and soon nobody's feeling any love. Because love really is about how well a person feels like they are being treated, how well a person feels like they are being heard, how much they feel like they're being heard. And quite frankly, all any of us ever want is to feel heard so that we can, and to be accepted for who we are and how we are. When the reality is, most people don't know how to deliver that, they don't know how to give that. So that is part of it, okay? And I've already got some stuff on here that will help you in that area, okay? So you did your best? Yes, you did. Let's get here too. Life changes, and it's supposed to. So from the time you had those little people, your life has changed tremendously. If you had those little people 2 decades ago and now they're in their 20s, 3 decades ago, now they're in their 30s, 4 decades ago, now they're in their 40s, 5 decades ago, and now they're in their 50s, listen, the more time has gone, the more difficult those relationships have gotten. But I don't want you to believe or feel like it is too late. Okay? So I want to show you something. I think I need to uh, maybe draw this. So here's what many of us end up doing. There's where we were, there's where we are, and there is where we are going. Okay? Unfortunately, too many people, this is where we spend our time. It's where most of our life is spent. It is remembering how bad things were. So where you are just continues that because that's where the momentum is. This is where I need you to understand that everything, okay? Everything is energy. You've heard that before. Let me give you just a little bit of understanding of what that means. Whatever has happened in you and your child's life, whatever has created the bad and the bad feelings, or whatever, however bad it's gotten, y'all, the momentum for that is still in your present. And it is that is also going to continue to go into your future. If you don't want all of this to end up in your future, then it is time for you to get focused on something different. You got to get focused on goals. You got to get focused on what you want. Okay? You got to get focused on what you want, not what your relationship has been with your children. That is going to take some emotional intelligence. There's there's a book that really talks about how children growing up with emotionally immature parents. Now that's another hard pill to swallow. What do you mean I'm immature? Listen, maturity has nothing to do with age. It doesn't matter how old you are if you have not expanded as an individual. If you have not figured out your own good, bad, and ugly. If you do not and cannot list your weaknesses and then know how you compensate for them, how you have developed as a result of them, if you have not done that work, it doesn't matter how old you are, the immaturity is there. And if the immaturity is there and your children have had to deal with that, they are still having to deal with that. And they have come into this space in this time for the purposes that they've come. And what you are, how you are, and the things that you do hinder them, you're going to have problems. Let's deal with some of the obvious reasons that a lot of children go no contact. And then I'm going to deal with some of the less obvious ones, which is where most of you probably fall. Okay? So many of the obvious reasons are abuse, whether that is physical abuse, um, sexual abuse, and or emotional abuse. And maybe you didn't necessarily do any of those, but you knew about them and you condoned that stuff. That is hard for a person to overcome. Okay, so if that's what it is, you need to go get some therapy in a hurry. And I'm not even, there are different kinds of therapy. If that's what it is and you haven't gotten any help, just go get some kind of help. Go start somewhere. Later on, I'll talk more about the different kinds of therapy. Okay? But if you've never done it, go get some. That is the first thing. So, if you've done your best, life changes. Um, it's not about where you were; it's about where you are, so that you can start to build some momentum toward what you want, toward your future. All right. Uh, and so the only way to do that is to understand that everything is energy. And while everything is energy, then you are a magnet. All right. And you vibrate a particular frequency. That frequency just gets more and more of what it is. So if you've ever heard, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. That's what that means. So if your relationship with your child is bad and has always been bad, it's probably because of the energy that you continue to carry, that you've always carried, that you probably carried even before it came. And it's time for you to go and evaluate, start to do some internal perspective, get some internal perspective on some things. Now, listen, I said I'm staying high level. This is still high level. It's not, I haven't dug into anything yet. And I probably won't on this. This is to get you going. All right. So, some of the less obvious toxic behaviors that parents exhibit with their children that make children not want to come around you. Let's talk about them. Disrespectful. Parents, yes, a parent can be disrespectful to their child. All too often, we're looking at the disrespect that children show a parent, but it's a reciprocation. Every relationship needs to be a reciprocation, and any healthy relationship is built on what I have coined as her honor, esteem, and respect. If you do not have honor, esteem, and respect for your child, don't be surprised when that child grows up and start moving more and more into their purpose for which they came. Parent, your children ain't come for you. I just thought I'd drop that. But when they start understanding that you are a hindrance for where they need to go, and you are disrespecting the purpose on their lives and the things that are important to them, children have long memories. Okay? So there are up down relationships and there are down up relationships. Parent, what you have with your children is a up down relationship, which means your child has been with you their whole lives and they have a certain expectation from you. They look up to you. They think you know far more than you know. I mean, we later realize that parents are people too, but that usually only happens because we recognize your flaws. And then we have to then take responsibility and understand that parents are people too. And we don't have the right to expect, as we're all adults now, that parents are going to have any more answers than we will. Not as adults, but as children. Yes, children have that expectation, as they should. Okay? As we get older, it's our responsibility to then level that thing out and to reparent ourselves in the ways that we need to. But if you still want to be in your child's life, then I'm telling you how to get there. Okay? So the disrespectfulness and being disrespectful creates a lot of hurt. And that hurtfulness, it is hard to get away from that. Because what a child hears and feels more than anything, because everything is energy, what a child feels from a parent is that this parent doesn't like me. They keep hurting me. If you hurt me, you would. If you love me, you wouldn't hurt me. Or if a child is then brought up with, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do all these things for you. Then okay, the child might even be able to accept. All right, so you love me, so you do things for me, but you don't like me very much. If you liked me, you wouldn't treat me like this. Everything is energy. Every child knows whether or not they're liked, and they know it from the time they get here because everything is energy. And before a child can understand words and concepts, they understand concepts better than you know because everything is energy. Feeling unsupported, that leads them to feeling unsupported. This person does not really support who I am because I can't seem to be right, do right, anything that I am. And here's what you need to understand: a child is always doing what is natural to them. Now, I need to take a little pivot to help you understand what an archetype is. Archetype is a reference that I'm using because it's more common than temperament. But when I created my programs, and temperament was the predominant word, even though it wasn't a mainstream conversation. Again, psychology has done a great job of hiding them. So we come here with our own sets, every single person, of what we'd consider strengths and weaknesses, the ways in which we process information, the ways we think, the ways that we feel, and the way our ways of being, how we show up in the world, what other people would call behaviors. And it's why when you look at your child, and if you have more than one, you'll look at many of their behaviors and go, what the hell? What is this child doing? But that child is teaching you who they are. People say children don't come with manuals. I'm telling you where the manual is. It is within them. You have to study them to understand it. I've given you a cheat sheet in the form of the video here, Who Am I? And anybody who ever works with me, that is a prerequisite. Okay? And if you need a quick clarifying session, then you'll find the links in the bio for a clarifying session with me to move you from where you are to where you need to be. Okay? And then another less obvious reason that children go no contact or don't come around you as much because of your toxic behavior is because you're clashing in values. They no longer carry your values. They've developed their own, which is exactly what they're supposed to. That's what they're supposed to do. So for parents who say, I didn't raise you like that, you were supposed to support who those children are, bring them to the point of being able to make their own decisions, and then allow them to decide if your values are what they want to carry on. Because much of what's happening is that you are still carrying other people's values and not understanding the evolutionary process and how things are supposed to change, and that your children they're already naturally seeded with the evolutionary process of where we are. They are not supposed to be what you are. They are not supposed to think as you think. They are not supposed to do as you do. They came here for their own path and purpose. So every evolution is seeded in every generation. So what needs to happen for us to move from where we are to where we're going, your child came here already naturally seated with that. And if you don't honor that and respect that, then that creates the space between you that does not allow you to have a good relationship. So who needs to change in that? If your child is already seeded with the evolutionary seed, then it is not your child who needs to yield to you. It is you who needs to yield to your child. I said that. So what you believe are the problems are not the problems. It's the only thing you know to give way to give attention to, but it is not the only thing. All right? We're almost there, y'all. So, um, did you do your best? Yes. Did you do everything you knew to do? Yes. Is there more for you to do? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, since now we know we all have good, bad, and ugly, it's time for you to finally own yours. It's time for you to own, yes, all the good. And I'm sure you got a whole bunch of people around you celebrating you for the good that is obvious. But that bad and ugly that's creating the distance between you and your child, if you want it, it's time for you to look it in the face and say, I need to reconcile this. Because once you reconcile that and you start to understand the full spectrum of temperaments, you will see where your child falls and then recognize why you've been in conflict. Because conflict is inevitable for any two people. It's not about the conflict. It's about how you treat the conflict when it shows up. And your abilities and your effectiveness in those conflicts has everything to do with your with how skillful you are at being able to respond effectively. Otherwise, you create the space between you and the people you say you love. All right? So, what if everything you've believed is a lie? What if everything you've been operating on is not true? And what if everything that your child has been doing and been operating on based on the evolutionary process is true? Is the truth? Is how exactly how things ought to be? What if? I didn't say it is. I just asked you what if. I need to pose the question so that you can get off of high horses thinking that because you are the parent that makes you right and every child needs to be subjected to what you want and what your opinions are. Because every person, I came here to close the gap. That's part of my purpose. My purpose is, after being here for over 5 decades, to recognize where we came from, but I see so clearly where we're going that the people who were born in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, if you don't get this straight, you're going to either just die off miserable and without them, or you're going to recognize that things are supposed to change. There is evolutionary processes. And many of us, we come here in order to move things along, not for things to stay the same. No. All right? So again, if you'd like some help with that, y'all, it's what I do. It's what I've done for many, many years. I'm very, very happy to help you with that. And make sure you get on. If you ever order any of my products, then you're already on my list. But if not, there's a way for you to get on the list to find out everything that's going on within Living Clarity with Zara Green. And I love what I do. I love being able to keep families together because, I mean, it's the one thing we all love to have and hate to lose. But I will be the first to tell anybody, in order to live out the purpose for which you came, if it means you got to put some distance between you and those people you came from them. You did not come for them. And if they cannot respect you, honor you, esteem you with all the purposes on your life and the things for which you came, then everybody can't come with you. All the people you love can't come with you. Sometimes you got to cut that off so you can go on and do what you need to do. And the more distance you put between you, the more purpose you'll see in your life, the more steam you'll get for your own future, and the less that past will be able to affect you. Now, if you don't want that to happen as a parent or as the older person in the younger person's life, then yeah, I mean, we're all under influences. Whose influence are you under? You know, your culture is our first culture is family. Family cult is just a way of life. Culture is a way of life. The first four letters of culture is cult. Family is the first cult. Your cult came from your life's experience, stuff that was passed on to you. Are you still under the influences of the people who passed stuff on to you, or have you created your own? And then are you mad at your child because your child has decided that your way of life and the things that you are passed on or tried to pass on is not conducive to the purposes for which they came and their evolutionary process in order to keep the change moving, because that's what we all came for. All right? All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's my first, but it will not be my last live. In fact, I might start doing these weekly. All right, we'll see. If you enjoyed this, then I am going to ask you to like it, to please tell me what you think about any of this. Did you have any aha moments? Um, are there some concerns that you have? Are there some subjects you'd like me to come on and dig into a little bit more on the lives? Uh, Depending on how well this does, then I will come back and do more. But listen, parents, you have a responsibility to your children. It's too much of this. I don't owe them nothing. Oh, yes, you do. You owe them honor, esteem, and respect. You owe them the reciprocation of what you think you want, what you say you want. You owe them that. And as your children get older, I mean, just think about how old you were not wanting to be told anything. At some point, you have to recognize that while you will always be their mother and father, the parenting stops, it ends. All right? Okay, that's all I came to give you for today. Again, that's top, that's high level. Your particular situation is specific. And I invite you to order a clarifying session with me so we can see how much deeper we need to go with you. All right? Okay. Until next time, it is your life. Choose it just as it is. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Change it as long as you can breathe and learn. Oh, honey, it can get better. Bye for now. From Medellin, Colombia. Because, yes, I've left the States. I live out of the country. How do I end this thing? Bye for now. Stops and you will know. Okay. Lord, what does that say? End.